Today, we will brief you on China's economic performance. We are pleased to have Mr. Sheng Laiyun, Deputy Commissioner of the National Statistics Bureau, to brief you on China's economic performance in the first 3 quarters of 2024 and answer your questions. Now, I'll give the floor to Mr. Sheng.
Friends from media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is my great pleasure to join you today to introduce to all of you the performance of China's economy. According to custom practices, and I will report to all of you the performance of our economy performance in the first 3 quarters and answer to your question. In the first 3 quarters, we have created solid development in face of complicated and severe external environment and new situation and new problems of domestic economic development. Under the strong leadership of Central Committee of the CPC, which Commerce Xi at its core, all region and departments strictly implemented the decisions and arrangements by top level of this country, adheres to the general principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability and deepen reform and opening up, expanded domestic demand, optimized economic structure, effectively implemented existing policy, and accelerated to introduce more incremental policy. As a result, national economy was generally stable with a steady progress, featuring steady increase of production demand, generally stable employment and price, effectively promoted well-being of people, and steady growth of new quality productive forces and solid progress in high-quality development. In September, most of the indicators in production demands improved. Market expectation was boosted, and the positive factors promoting the recovery of the economy were accumulated. According to our calculation, the GDP in the first 3 quarters of 2024 reached 94.9 trillion yuan, up by 4.8% year-on-year. By industry, the primary industry up by 3.4% year-on-year. The secondary industry up by 5.4% year-on-year, and the tertiary industry up by 4.7%. By quarter, the GDP of first quarter grew by 5.3% year-on-year, up by 4.7% of the second quarter, and up by 4.6% of the third quarter. And the GDP of third quarter increased by 0.9% quarter-on-quarter. First, agricultural production witnessed good momentum, and animal husbandry was generally stable. In the first 3 quarters, the value added of agriculture went up by 3.7% year-on-year. The total output of summer grains and early rice was 3.46 million tons more than that of last year. In the first 3 quarters, the output of pork, beef, mutton, and poultry was up by 1% year-on-year. Of this total, the output of beef and poultry grew by 4.6% and 6.4% respectively, and while that of pork and mutton dropped by 1.4% and 2.2% respectively. The output of milk dropped by 0.1%. And that of egg went up by 3.5%. Second, production registered stable growth, and equipment manufacturing and high-tech manufacturing grew fast. The total value added of industry enterprises grew by 5.8% year-on-year. In terms of sector, the value added of mining industry grew by 2.9% year-on-year, and that of manufacturing increased by 6%, and that of production of supply of electricity, thermal power, gas, and water increased by 6.3%. The value added of equipment manufacturing grew by 6.5%, and that of high-tech manufacturing up by 9.1%, 1.7 percentage point and 3.3 percentage point faster than that of whole industrial enterprises, respectively. And the value added of state-holding enterprises up by 4.3% year-on-year. That of shareholding enterprises up by 6.1%. In September, the manufacturing PMI stood at 49.8%, 0.7 percentage points higher than that of the previous month. 3, in the first quarter, the value added of service went up by 4.7% year-on-year. Specifically, the value added of information transmission, leasing and business services, transport, storage, and postal services, accommodation, and catering, and wholesale and retail grew by 11.3%, 10.1%, 6.8%, and 6.3%, and 5.4% respectively. In September, the index of service production increased by 5.1% year-on-year, 0.5 percentage point faster than that of the previous month. In September, the business activity index for service stood at 49.9%, and the business activity expectation index for services was 54.6%. Fourth, market sales kept growing and sales of upgraded goods witnessed good momentum. In the first three quarters, the total retail sales of consumer goods reached 35.3 trillion yuan, up by 3.3% year-on-year. Based on different areas, the retail sales of consumer goods in urban areas up by 3.2%, and rural areas up by 4.4%. Grouped by consumer patterns, the retail sales of goods up by 3.0%, and income catering services grew by 6.2%. The retail sales online reached 10.9 trillion yuan, up by 8.6% year-on-year. Specifically, the online retail sales of physical goods up by 7.9%, accounting for 25.7% of the total retail sale of consumer goods. In September, the total retail sale of consumer goods went up by 3.2% year-on-year, 1.1 percentage point faster than that of the previous month, or up by 0.39% month-on-month. 5. Investment in fixed assets continued to scale up, and investment in high-tech industries grew fast. In the first three quarters, the investment in fixed assets reached 37 trillion yuan, up by 3.4% year-on-year. The investment in fixed assets was up by 7.7%, with the investment in real estate development deducted. Specifically, investment in infrastructure grew by 4.1%. In manufacturing grew by 9.2%, and that in real estate development dropped by 10.1%. And the floor space of newly built commercial buildings sold was 702.84 million square meters, down by 11.1% year-on-year, a decline narrowed by 1.9 percentage points and 0.9 percentage points respectively, compared with that in the first half year and the first 8 months. And then the total sales of newly built commercial building, we saw a decline narrowed by 2.3 percentage points and 0.9 percentage points respectively, compared to the first half of the year and first 8 months.
9月份固定资产投资环比增长0.65%。6. 货物进出口
In September, the investment in fixed assets increased by 0.65% month-on-month. 6. Import and export of goods grew fast, and trade structure continued to optimize. 7. Consumer price grew mildly, and you know that the figures of these two sectors were already released. I will not waste more time here. 8. Employment was generally stable, and urban surveyed unemployment rate declined slightly. And in the first 3 quarters, the urban surveyed unemployment rate was averaged 5.1%, down by 0.2 percentage point over that of the same period last year. For those local resident registration, the unemployment rate was 5.2%, and for those non-local resident holder was 4.8%, which of the rate with non-local agricultural household registration stood at 4.6%. And in those 31 major cities, the surveyed unemployment rate stood at 5.1%. 9. About household incomes. In the first 3 quarters, the national per capita disposable income of household was of 30,941 yuan, a nominal growth of 5.2%, and real growth of 4.9%. For urban households, a nominal growth of 4.5% and real growth of 4.2%. For rural residents, a nominal growth of 6.6% and nominal real growth of 6.3%. In terms of income sources, the national per capita salary income, net business income, net property income, and net income from transfer grew by 5.7%, 6.4%, 1.2%, and 4.9%, respectively. The median of nationwide per capita disposable income of household was 25,978 yuan, a nominal growth of 5.9% year-on-year. Generally speaking, the general economy was very stable, and effective policy continued to manifest its major indicators showing positive changes respectively. And we must see the increased complexity in the external environment and the foundation of sound economic recovery. In the future, we must follow the guidance of President Xi Jinping's thought on socialism, with China's characteristic of for a new era, fully implement the guiding principles of the 20th CPC National Congress and the second and third plenary session. And we will adhere to the general principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability and accelerate efforts to create new pattern of development. We must intensify the synergy of existing and incremental policy and advance implementation and delivery of policy, and consolidate and enhance the momentum for economic recovery and growth so as to achieve the annual targets of economic and social development for the year. These are the statistics that I have for you. Now, I am very happy to take your questions.
Thank you for your briefing. Now we will start Q&A. Please identify your media affiliation before raising your questions. China's economic performance is overall stable starting from this year, but there are some new situations and problems. What's your assessment of the Q3's economic performance? Thank you for your question. Since this year, we are faced with complex and changing external circumstances, increasing challenges and difficulties in the outside environment. The domestic economy is also upgrading and making structural transformation. So the temporary pains of these adjustments are being released. Faced with these new circumstances and problems, the Central Committee have taken a holistic approach, faced up to the difficulties, and made scientific policies to step up macro regulation. Especially in late September, the Political Bureau of the Central Committee of the CPC held a meeting and adopted a measure of a number of incremental policies to bolster market confidence and release market vitality. In the first 3 quarters, overall, the economic performance is stable and made steady progress. In September, major indicators are improving. The economy is on an upward trajectory. There are more positive factors accumulating, sustaining economic recovery and growth. In the first 3 quarters, China's overall economic performance had 3 features. The first is that there is fluctuations in the Q2 and Q3 figures, but overall the economic performance is stable. This continues to be the defining feature. From growth, employment, inflation, and from these factors, we can see that the economy is overall stable. In the first 3 quarters, the economy grew by 4.8%. In Q1, 5.3%, Q2, 4.7%, Q3, 4.6%. So these are not major fluctuations in these figures. Employment and prices are overall stable. In the first 3 quarters, surveyed unemployment rate was 5.1%. In Q2, it was 5%. Q3, 5.2%. So this rate is also overall stable.
居民消费价格指数
CPI
来反映通胀的
reflects
变化程度。
inflation fluctuations in the first 3 quarters. CPI on average grew by 0.3%, 0 for Q1, 0.2 for Q2, and 0.5 for Q3. So on average is 0.3.
国际这个收支
The balance of international payments is in equilibrium. The import-export is better than we expected. In the first 3 quarters, export grew by 6.2%. And our forex reserve is back to the $3.3 trillion. So from these 4 factors for the macroeconomy I mentioned, our assessment is that in the first 3 quarters, the economy is overall stable. So this is the defining feature and it remains unchanged. The second feature is that solid progress is being made in high-quality development. This momentum continues. The Chinese economy is upgrading and transforming. Our main task is to change our growth patterns and upgrade our economy to achieve better quality. From our statistics, we can see that in the first 3 quarters, the new development patterns being implemented faithfully and fully, and we have promoted very firmly high-quality development. We have sustained coordinated, innovative growth. In innovation-driven development, progress is made in the first 3 quarters. Investment in high-tech industries are maintaining fast growth. The value added of a high-tech manufacturing grew by 9.1%, 3.3 percentage points higher than the overall figure. In terms of coordinated development, the industrial structures, the demand structure, the regional structure are improving and more balanced. In terms of industrial structure, value added of high-tech manufacturing's share in the total industry is increasing. In terms of demand, investment in high-tech manufacturing's share are continuing to increase. Green development is also making new progress. New energy vehicles, lithium batteries, solar cells, these new 3 types of products are maintaining 2-digit growth. Nuclear, wind power, solar power, and other new energies production and consumption are maintaining relatively fast growth. Progress is made also in openness, opening up. We are promoting high-quality opening up. Our exports are more diversified. Amid complex international circumstances, our export grew by 6.2%. Our export to BRI partner countries grew faster than the average level. We are also promoting shared development. Personal income of Chinese people grew faster than GDP growth. We are ensuring people's livelihood. Effective measures have been taken in this regard. Energy and food security also ensured. New progress is made in this regard. China's grain output is expecting bumper harvest this year. So from these dimensions, we see that the Chinese economy is maintaining a reasonable growth in quantity, and the structures, the quality are also improving. So we are making steady progress in promoting high-quality development. The third feature that I wish to emphasize is in September, China's national economy has been improving in September. It is stabilizing and growing due to a raft of policies and measures, especially those taken in late September after the holding of an important meeting by the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee. These incremental policies have bolstered market confidence, improved market entities' expectations, unleashed the market potential. So from the main indicators of September, the economy is performing better. In terms of production, be it industrial production or service production, they are all improving. The value added of industrial enterprises above designated size grew by 5.4%, 0.9 percentage points faster than the previous month, reversing a previous trend of decline. The value added of service industry grew by 5.1%, 0.5 percentage points faster than the previous month. In terms of demand, total retail sales of consumer goods grew by 3.2%, 1.1 percentage points faster month-on-month. Investment in fixed asset grew by 3.4%. On the same level with the first 8 months, but this is a reverse in the trend after decline the first 8 months. In terms of market expectation, there are also improvements. Our PMI in September stood at 49.8, up by 0.7% over the previous month. Industrial productions index also improved. We also surveyed 100,000 big companies in September. The share of companies that have positive expectations of their business grew by 1.1 percentage points month-on-month. So all this shows that the market is improving. Another positive change is that the bond and the real estate markets are more active. In August, bond transaction value dropped by 15.3%. In September, it rose significantly by 32.7%. The real estate transactions are more active. Floor space of commercial housing sold and the transaction value, although still being adjusted, but the decline is narrowing. During the National Day holidays, as you may have seen from the news report, that the visits made by potential buyers and the transaction value also rose notably. So the market is more vibrant than before. So our assessment is that in September, the macroeconomic performance are making changes for the positive. It is stabilizing and rebounding. But we are also aware that these are the preliminary changes. It is not on a solid enough footing. So in the next period, we'll continue to earnestly implement the decisions made by the Central Party Committee. We will accelerate implementing the incremental policies and the existing policies so that more synergies will be created to consolidate the momentum for economic recovery and continue to ensure the economy's growth and structural improvements. Thank you.
Thank you. Starting from this year, the renewal and trading policy, and as well as the policy related to real estate market and the issuance of ultra long-term special treasury bond and special local bond, and many other macro policy has been rolled out. What are the effect of these policies? Thank you for your question. With regard to the new situation in our domestic situation, the Party Central Committee had made very science-based policies and decisions. We have rolled out a series of policies and decisions to stabilize the economy that also includes what you have mentioned, the large-scale equipment renewal as well as trading policy, the policies to stabilize the real estate market, and the issuance of long-term, ultra-long-term special treasury bond as well as local special bond, and many other policies. Specifically, in the second half of September, we have rolled out many other incremental policies in a way to say that these policies boosted market expectation and confidence. Many of the policies have already been delivered, and the effect of these policies has been manifested gradually. Some of these policies are still in the pipeline, and we are keep rolling out similar policies, and we need still to wait some time before the manifestation of these effects. For those existing policies in the first 3 quarters, we can say that the effect of these policies are very clear. I can see from I can report to you through several figures. I would like to use 5 keywords to summarize it. First is that it has further unleashed the potential of domestic demand. With the policy of trading policy, in the first 3 quarters, the household appliance retail sales grew by 4.4%. In September, that is to say, the policies related to the sales of household appliance, cars, and stationaries, and the fact was very clear and obvious, because in July, we have issued a specific paper on the double down on the delivery of policy related to the large-scale renewal of equipment. We have put forward 300 billion yuan to help implement these policies. And many local authorities have put forward their own policies to deliver this document. So no matter from retail sales or revenue of all those categories of consumer goods demonstrated a significant boost. In September, for the sales of cars grew by 0.3%. It is a reverse from a 7.3% decline over the past month, which has been continued for several months. For household appliance, it actually grew by 20.5%. Many stationaries, including personal computers, grew by almost 10%. Actually, in the previous month, it declined by 1.9% over the past month. For furnitures, related products in September also emerged from decline to positive growth. From these perspectives, the trading policy and the renewal policy have demonstrated very good effect on consumers. It also unleashed positive factors for investment. In the first 3 quarters, the purchase of equipment and instruments grew by 16.4% and contributed 60% of the total growth, which stood at 21.4% of the overall status.
有效促进了相关
Second is
商品的生产、产品的生产。
significantly boosted the
看
production of the industries of related businesses. And there are also several figures. In the first 3 quarters,
受益的船舶装置制造
for those equipment manufacturing industries, the equipment manufacturing industries, telecommunication equipment manufacturing industries,
9月份当月增长
in the first 3 quarters grew by 20.5%, 19.8%, and 12.9%.
行业受这些大规模设备更新
Thanks to the large-scale equipment renewal policy, in these 3 quarters, the growth rate was very high.
专用设备
And for food manufacturing machineries and agricultural products, processing, manufacturing, and wrapping equipments grew by 38.1% and 34.6% and 11.8%.
受益比较大的新能源车
In the first 3 quarters, the EVs production grew by 33.8%, and the charging facilities grew by 57.2%. And for refrigerators and ACs and smart TVs also achieved fast growth.
第3个呢，就是政策效果是吧？是有效的
3,
这个推动了经济轻稳回升。
and these policies have
一个自然的结果
successfully boosted the economy and stabilized the economy and pursued improvement.
投资和
From different sectors, the production and many indicators of production and consumption all showed positive
9月份的
momentums.
多项生产需求指标边际改善，呈现
Actually, I have already told you that there are marginal increase in all those indicators of production and consumption. And fourth is that a gradually improved market expectation. And with the effect of these policies, it has significantly boosted market expectation and confidence. As a matter of fact, in September, the manufacturing PMI grew by 0.7%, and the index of production grew by 1.4 percentage points. And for many industries, no matter traditional industries or emerging industries, they are all showing greater confidence facing the future markets. Fifth is that it's basically improved the activity of and the business activity in the market. And we see the turnover in the stock market rebounded dramatically, and the turnover in the real estate market also rebounded dramatically. So from these 5 perspectives, all these incremental policies that aimed at stabilizing the economy and stabilizing the real estate market, or aiming at stabilizing the market expectation, they are showing good momentums, and the good effect of them are being manifested gradually. And we have to say that we still give it more time for the effect to be fully manifested, and many local authorities are putting forward detailed plans to implement these policies, to further implement those policies that have already been issued by the central government, so that to make sure that there will be more potential can be unleashed in these policies. Thank you.
继续提问。
More questions, please.
好，这个后面吧，第4排中间那位，对。
谢谢。香港南华早报的记者。我想问的问题是关于房地产的，就是您能不能进一步说一下
Related to real estate market, what is the overall performance of the real estate market after the May 15th policy? Is there improvement in the market? And there is a slew of new relaxing policies lately. How do you assess its future development?
房地产是市场这2年是持续在
The real estate market is undergoing adjustment in recent years. In order to stabilize the real estate market, the central government and the local governments have taken a series of stabilizing policies conducive to the sound development of the real estate market, including the one you mentioned introduced on May the 17th. And also, In September, the related competent authorities, after the Political Bureau meeting, adopted a series of policies conducive to stabilizing the real estate market. Yesterday, I noticed that a press conference is held here to enunciate on the policies and the effects of the latest policies in terms of the real estate market. These measures are taking effects and boosting market confidence. From our statistic, in the first 3 quarters, the real estate market's policies adopted by the government have shown positive effects in stabilizing the real estate market. As I mentioned, in terms of investment, in the first September, the investment is minus 10.1%, but the decline is not expanding. It's on par with the first 8 months. So this is a positive signal. Real estate sales and the floor space, the value of the transaction, they are adjusting, but the decline again is narrowing. The floor space of commercial housing sold is decline narrowed by 1.6% compared with the first half of the year. For 5 months, the transaction value's decline is narrowing by 5 months in a row. We also support real estate companies to increase their liquidity. Their capital in place decline is also narrowing by a larger margin. For 7 months straight, the decline is being narrowed. So from these figures, we see that the related measures effects are being released and is helping the real estate market to stabilize and improve. With the adoption of these policies and their implementation, we are optimistic about the real estate market in the coming period. As you can see from yesterday's press conference, the series of measures are pretty strong, and it concerns multiple government departments and governments at all levels. If they are implemented, they are sure to have positive effects, sustaining the growth of the real estate market. From the expectation of people in the business and the transaction value over the National Day holiday, we have ample reason to be optimistic about the real estate market. I will brief you on 2 figures here. Recently, we surveyed real estate agents in 70 major cities across China. The real estate agents expectation of the market turned positive by 10 percentage points. So they have greater confidence in the real estate market. And also, you may have noticed that during the National Day holiday, there is also positive momentum. For instance, the visits by potential buyers and the transaction value both improved. Some market agencies have also done surveys showing that the transaction volume of new homes grew by 102%, and the second-hand home grew by 2.05%. So we are confident that there will continue to be positive changes in the real estate market.
谢谢主持人。第一财经提问，我们也看到最近一段时间出台了很多新的这个宏观政策。
We noticed that the government adopted many micro policies. There are 2 months till the end of the year. Are you confident about reaching the 5% target
谢谢您
of GDP growth this year?
我知道大家都对世
Thank
界
you for your
经济的
question.
走势很关注。
I know you have paid close attention to the future trajectory of the economy in the fourth quarter.
增量政策的
Speaking
实施效
from
果情况来
the
看，
first 3 quarters economic performance and the implementation of all those incremental
推动
policies,
经济企稳回升的
We're very
有利
confident
条件在增加，
to say that there
实
are
现
more
四季度啊，
favorable
四季度实
conditions
现
to
5%左右
stabilize
的
the economy
预
and
期目标
improve the
的信
economy.
心
And
在
we're
增强。
very confident. The confidence
一个
of
方面
us
就是
are
这
growing
个
to achieve
前三季度
the
啊
set
GDP
targets
增长
we have for the whole
4.8%。
year. For the first 3 quarters, the growth
应该说打下了一个
was
坚实的基础。
4.8%,
今年的
which is a solid base to
4.8
achieve our
是来自不易的。
set target for the whole year.
前面我也
Actually, the
跟同仁讲
4.8
到，就
growth
是
rate is
今
not
年以
a
来
is very
宏
is
观
a
环
hard
境
and
是复杂多变，
result. As I said,
尤其
we
是
faced
外部的压
growing
力在持续增
complexities
大，
and growing pressure from the
内部
external environment,
又处在结构
and
调整的
there
关键
we
期，
are
调整
undergoing
结构调整
critical
一
stage
定会有
of
阵
structural
痛，
reforms,
所以阵痛在
and there will
持
be
续的释放。
temporary
但是中国经
pains
济
in this
在
process,
这个顶住了压力，
but we withstood all those pressure,
使经济的运行保持平稳运行的态势，
and we have secured our
这充
economy
分
to run very
证
smoothly,
明中国经济具有强大的韧性，
which demonstrated the
和
great
潜力。
resilience and the great
所以这个
potential
是
of the
经
Chinese
济未
economy.
来持续回
So
升的一个基础。
That is the very foundation of
第二
the
点呢，
future
就
recovery
是
of Chinese economy.
有利条
Second,
件就是刚才我也讲
second
到的
favorable
9月
condition
份
is that
的经济运
in
行
September
趋向积极变化，
we see
这
very
增强了
many
我们发
positive
展的信心。
developments in the
尤
economic
其是
performance that
中央
strongly
政治局
boosted our
会议
confidence, especially
以后
the
这
Central
个
Political
以
Bureau's
及
conferences
增量政策加快
and
退出
many
落地，
other and the delivery of
所以这个
many
这个
incremental
是
policies
极大的增强了
greatly
这个市场
boosted
主体的信心。
the
只要有
expectation
信
and the
心
confidence
了，
of
这
market
企业它就
entities.
会愿意
As
去
long as they
投
have
资，
confidence,
消
those
费者
market
就
entities,
愿意
these
去
enterprises
消
will
费。
be very willing to invest,
所以刚才
and
我
the
主
consumer
要已
will
经向
have more
大家
confidence
就
to
是
spend
讲
their
了
money.
一些预期指标的变化。
So that's why I briefed you about a lot of figures
第三点呢，
about
就是
the
这个
expectation of
政策
markets.
合力会增
Third
强
is
经
that
济
the synergy of
回升的
those
动力。
policy will greatly boost it.
前面我跟
The
给大家
will
讲
inject
到了
greater
这个政
impetus
策
to
的效
the
果，
improvement of
它
our
是无论是
economy.
对投资、对消费、
As I
对产
said,
业的发展
those
都会
policies
产生
will have
积极的效应。
great
那么
effect
四季度
to
是吧
the
政策
investment and
有很大
consumption
的
of the
空间
market. In
而且政策的
the
这种
fourth
含金量
quarter,
也非常高。
we have greater
那么
rooms
这
to
些政
deliver
策
more
各个各地
policies,
正在是抓紧
and
落
for
实，
those
它会
policies,
尽快使之尽快地
local
产生
governments
实物供应
are drafting detailed
会极大
policies,
地
detailed
增强
plans to implement
经济发展的动
these
力。
policies, which will,
另外，
of
我们也
course,
注意
greatly
到
boosted
中央这
the
次出台的
economy.
这个一揽子增量政策，
And we can see that from
除了总
the
量维
incremental
持
policies
经
we
济
have
稳
issued
定增
recently,
长的一些政策以外，
apart from
还有
those
一些政策
stabilizing
是
policies,
这个是
we
有利
see
于推动结构
many
优化，
other policies that
有
it
利
is
于
conducive
推动
to
新质
improve
生
the
产力的
structure
发展。
of our economy and boost
同时
the
呢，
new
就
quality
是
productive
这
forces.
个三中全会以后，20届三中全会以后，
And particularly
出台的一系
after
列的
the
改革方案，
third plenary
正在
session, we
落
have
地。
rolled out
所
a
以总量政策、
series
产业政
of
策和结构性的改革
new
政策
policies to improve the structure of our economy.
这个配合，而且产
From
生
that
合力。
perspective, there will be a greater synergy or interplay between these different policies. And we're sure that with these policies in place, that we will see greater momentum in our
也
economy.
能感受到经
And
济企稳
fourth
回
is that
升的
from
这
some
些
new
态
indicators,
势和它的
and we can also
积极
see
变化。
the
因为
positive
从10月
developments
上旬
of the performance of our
用电
economy.
量
For example, in
一些
the first half of
生产资料的价格的变化，
October, and
包括11
the
黄金周的
price
消费，
fluctuation
这些
as well as
情
the
况来看，
consumption volume
都
during
预示
the
着
National
世
Day
界
vacation.
经济企稳
All
回
those
升
figures all
的
demonstrated
这种是个大概率事件。
possibility, which
也就
is
是说这
of
个
great
生产资料的
possibility
价
that
格
we
价
are
格
going
呢
to
是
witness a rebound
这
in
是
our
往
economy
往是
in the
经济运
fourth
行的
quarter.
一个很重要的一个先行指标，尤其生产资料价格。
The
我们监测
PPI will be a
50 种
very
重要生
important
产资料的价格情况。
figure to
10月
demonstrate
上旬
the market trajectory. 33 items went up, and several other items under our surveillance remained stable. Which demonstrated that the improvement of the price demonstrated a greater activity in the future for these enterprises. For steels and cement and many other products, their prices are also growing. During the National Day holiday, we can also see the potential of China's consumption being released, and the trips during the holidays are also increasing. And the Culture and Tourism Department of China, we have witnessed domestic travels up by 5.9%, and their expenditure grew by 6.3%. And the total trips grow even faster than 2019 by 12%. So these indicators are demonstrating very positive developments in our economy. Based on these figures, we believe that the Q4's economy will continue the good momentum we have already seen in September. So we are very confident in achieving the 5% growth target of the year. More questions, please.
第二排，中间。
谢谢发言人。每日经济新闻记者提问：我们注意到9月份的 CPI
We noticed that in September CPI's increase dropped as compared with August. How do you see the price level for the moment, and what's your assessment of the CPI's future trend? CPI grew by 0.4% in September, and it maintained the same level month on month. It dropped to 0.2% year on year due to factors in 3 aspects. First is food prices. Food prices growth month on month is declining. In August, we are seeing typhoons, storms, heat, and other extreme weathers. It affects the supply of food and vegetables. So in August, food prices grew by 3.4% month on month. In September is 2.6% month on month. Another factor is after the summer vacation, service industry prices, including travel expenditure, plane tickets, for instance, their prices are dropping. So this has driven down the CPI. Another factor would be oil prices. The drop in oil prices. Our domestic oil prices have dropped because of the international market. So these 3 factors have affected our CPI's growth in September, making it slightly lower than that of August. China's CPI and the prices of its industrial products, when we look at these prices, we can see that the factors affecting price in China are pretty complex. This is because of China's large land area. We have a lot of cities and many structural disparities. So overall, in the first 3 quarters, the price trajectory has maintained slight growth at a low level and is diversified across different sectors. It is operating at a low level because the CPI and PPI are overall at a low level. The CPI after Q1, for each month, the growth rate is at around 0.3 to 0.6%. In the first 3 months, the average is at 0.3%. The PPI is in the negative range. It's declining. So it shows that the supply in the domestic market exceeds demand. Another is moderate uptick. As the economy improves, as our policies conducive to economic stabilization are taking effect, the overall demand across the market is increasing, improving. So the CPI, so it's also reflected in the CPI. The PPI's decline is narrowing. In the first quarter, it's minus 2.7%. And in the following quarters, the decline also narrowed. All of this shows that the economy is stabilizing and improving, or else the prices will not be rising. The third point is that the prices are more, that their momentum are diversified. The CPI is improving, the PPI is decline and narrowing, but still it is below zero. So this shows that our price landscape is complex. We have strong temporal and structural situations. From the structural perspective, we face pressure from the external market. For instance, the drop in minerals and oil prices. Our economy in these sectors are reliant on the external market, so we'll import the international fluctuations. So this will affect our prices by 15%. And also in the real estate market, related sectors like steel, concrete, these sectors are also affected by the adjusting real estate market, because the real estate market will not be back to where it was. The demand will be shifted to somewhere else. So for these traditional industries, their structural reforms effect will also affect the prices. And also, the cyclical economic performance also affects prices. So there are lots of structural factors, complex factors that affect prices in China. But when we look at the overall trend, we believe the economy is stabilizing and improving. And in the next period, we believe that the momentum in the first 3 quarters will be sustained, which is operating at a low level, moderate improvement, and a diversification. The demand will continue to improve, especially after the implementation of the incremental policies, which will drive up prices of related products. CPI is also seasonal. In winter, because of change in the supply of food and rising demand in pork, especially nearing the Spring Festival and the New Year, pork's consumption and demand will rise. So there will also be positive changes. And also due to the carryover effect, the prices of industrial products and items needed for everyday life will also improve. Thank you.
继续提问。好，先这边吧，这个第2排，对。
谢谢。
Thank you. We have passed the graduation season. From the employment statistic, how do you evaluate the job market? And in the future, will there be any further policy to to push the high-quality employment. Thank you for your question. People paid very close attention to. Thank you for your question. People place close attention to the employment or the job market. The Party Central Committee actually attached great importance to the issue of employment. Starting from this year, we have rolled out a series of policies to stabilize employment, especially for those college graduates. Not long ago, we have issued a specific document to push forward the high-quality development of the job market. Based on our statistics, there are two features. First is that the total volume of our jobs in the market is very stable, though it is under stress. I've already briefed you on the statistic about the urban surveyed unemployment rate. In the first 3 quarters, numbers stand at 5.1%. For Q1 stood at 5.2% and Q2 it stand at 5.0%, which is Q3 is slightly higher than Q2 due to the seasonal fluctuation because of the graduation season. So generally speaking, the employment market is quite stable. And as I just said, the party authorities at all levels attach great importance to this issue. This actually thanks to the advantage of our political system, which is quite very salient in this process. And we can also see the influence of some fundamentals. There are 3 factors that I would like to brief you here that will back the solid job market of China. First is that our GDP is still growing. In Q3 this year, the GDP growth is 4.6%. The total added GDP was actually enlarging, though the percentage point is lowered compared to last Q3. Actually, we created an addition of 1.29 trillion RMB, which demonstrated greater need for more jobs in the market. Second is that about structural reforms. After the 18th Party National Congress, our economy has undergone tremendous structural reform. And we see a tremendous increase in the service sectors and its proportion in the GDP. Starting from 2015, the service sectors accounted for more than 50% of the total GDP. For the previous 3 quarters of this year, the service sectors accounted for 54.4%, an even increase compared with last year. Actually, the service sectors are labor-intensive industries. According to our calculation, with only 1 percentage increase in the service sector, it will drive over 2 million jobs in the job market. Another factor is about the population structure or the demographic of China. For the population aged in the period 15 to 59, the number of which starting from
Our workforce population dropped by 5 to 6 million every year starting from 2012. Last year it dropped by 10 million, so this is going to affect the supply and the demand in the job market. So the overall employment situation is stable. Our surveyed unemployment rate is overall stable thanks to this.
So in the future, these factors will continue to manifest as effects, though we will undergo some stress, but with these solid foundations, there will be no big fluctuations in the job market. But we still identify much salient structural problems in our job market. For example, for youth, their unemployment rate is rather higher. On the other hand, we also noticed that in the manufacturing sectors, they are very difficult to find employees. And there are some, based on some internal surveys, which also proven the fact that there are problems in the job market, especially for the manufacturing industries. For skilled technicians, they are still outnumbered. They are still outnumbered by the job opportunities. So in the future, we must push forward high-quality development in the job market and sufficient employment. We must leverage the advantage of our political system and create more jobs through economic development. In the meantime, we also need to pay more attention to the structural problems in the job market and to address them through our development. In the end, we can drive high-quality job market development and sufficient employment. More questions, please.
Hi, from CNBC. Wondering what is the impact of China's trade-in policy on retail sales? Thank you.
请翻译一下。
我想知道一下，以旧换新政策在多大程度上促进了零售销售？
这个谢谢你提问。实际上这个以旧
Thank you
换
for your
新政策的
question.
效应呢，刚才我已经谈到了一些。
I have
这里
actually
面呢，你是专门
talked
提到了零售。
several
这个
points
它确
about
实
the
是
effect of the trading
反映
policy.
消费市场变
You
化的一
mentioned
个
specifically about
重要
the
的
retail
方面。
sales, which is, of course,
那么
a very important part
从
of
这
consumption.
种统计数据的情况来看，
According
是吧
to
这个以
our
旧换新的政
statistics,
策
the
效果
trading
还是比较
policy
明显的。
have manifested great
首先
results
是
for
社会生产
particularly
零售
retail
总额
sales.
9月份
The aggregated
增长
retail sales
3.2%，
grew by
比8月份
3.2%
回升
month on month in
1.1%。
September,
前3季度是增长
0.1 percentage
3.4%。
points higher than August.
所以这其中这
In
个
the first 3
以旧换
quarters,
新政策
the
发挥
growth
重
rate
要
was
作用，尤其是4月份。为什么呢？因为
3.4%.
我刚才也
In
谈到
this process, the trading
7月
policy
份
demonstrated
是
very
中
good,
央出台了一个
contributed
加
a
力
lot.
支持
As I said, in
两性政策的一
July,
个
we have
政
put
策。
forward a
那
document
么
to
8月份、9月份各地加快落实。
promote the
真正发挥
implementation
作用的
of
直接
the
起作用
renewal
的实际
and
上是
trading
在
policy.
这个
So for the policy
9月份。
to take effect,
那么从9
we
月
have
份
to wait
是吧？你
until
关心的零
September.
售中间是吧？有几个数据我在
And I have
这
several
个强调一
figures
下。
for you.
以旧换新，从零售单这个受益比较大的还是汽车销售、
From the
家电销
perspective
售、
of
办公用
the
品销售
retail
和
consumptions,
这个家居销售。
the business
那我们
that
曾经
benefited
有一
from
个
the
内部的
retail
调
sales
查，就
actually
是
range from
看这个
like
政策的受益面。
cars,
那么汽车
stationaries
销
and
售和
furnitures and so on.
家电的销售受益
And
面比较
for
大，是吧
the
60%的
cars
零
and
售企业
furnitures
都是
and
享受到这个政策的好处。
home appliance, they
那
have
么家居
benefited a
要
lot
小
from
一
the
点，家
trading
居大概可
policies.
能不到
Furnitures
20%，
for the furniture
这个收益
industries,
不到20%。
they
但
only
是
like
从已经受益
20%
的这些
growth
企业的
of
情况来
these
看，
industries. For
在零
those
售都是
business
增
that
长速度比较
have
快。你像这个
witnessed benefits from the
家
trading
电
policy, for
家电
example,
就是说
home
这种
appliance
它的这种
industry
受益的企业零售额是9月份
in September,
大幅增长13.5%， 13.5%。
they have increased
另外呢，就是像汽车角度来讲，9月份
13.5% in their revenue in
这个
September.
零售额是
For
增长0.4%，
cars, for
有
automobiles,
负转正。
the growth rate emerged from negative
家用电
growth
器和
to
音响制品
0.4%
首
in
次增长
September.
20%，达到增
And
长
for
20%。而且在其中
radio and audio
智能的家电
equipment, grew by over 20%, and for smart home appliance equipment grew by over 30%, and for stationaries grew by 10%, and for furniture they also emerged from negative growth to positive growth. Based on the statistics of these figures, the trading policies can drive up 1.1 percentage growth across the whole industry. So in that manner, we have seen greater benefits being manifested in this process. So we must accelerate the implementation of the package of policy. As long as we can implement it, we can see great results. More questions, please. Due to time limit, 2 more questions.
谢谢主持人。经济日报提问，党中央要求加快培育和形成新质生产力。请问前3季度新质生产力的发展情况如何？谢谢。
new quality productive forces. How is China's new quality productive forces development in the first 3 quarters? Thank you for your question. Accelerating, fostering new quality productive forces is an important measure and is essential for promoting high quality development, and it also provides important support for it. So our party committees and governments at all levels place high importance on this and earnestly implement the plans of the central decisions of the central government to develop new quality productive forces according to local conditions. From our figures, we see that positive and salient effects have been shown. New quality productive forces have been formed at a faster pace. In terms of investment and innovation, the input is increasing. Last year, our R&D investment exceeded 3.3 trillion RMB last year. That is ranking second in the world. Helping to drive the development of high-tech industries. And also enhancing China's innovative capabilities. According to WIPO's report, you may have noticed that China's innovation index now ranks at 11th, 1 position higher than before. From the investment in high-tech industries, we have an indicator that is investment in high-tech industries in the first 3 quarters grew by 10%. Our investment in fixed asset only grew by 3.4%, so it is about 6.6 percentage points higher than the average. So the investment in high-tech sectors are contributing to 60% of our overall investment in fixed asset. So our input is increasing in innovation. The second point is that the innovation's outcomes are increasing in the first 8 months. According to competent authorities, China's authorized patent number grew by 23%. Our quantum computing is being commissioned. Aerospace and other major research results and equipment are being made, and progress is made in this regard, and the new industries are booming. I've already briefed you the related figures. For instance, the value added of high-tech manufacturing grew by 9.1% in the first 3 quarters, 3.3 percentage points higher than the average. High-tech service industries like IT and software, etc., grew by 13% in the first 3 quarters, notably higher than the overall level of the tertiary industry. Digital economy is making progress. Our digital products manufacturing grew by 9.8% in the first 3 quarters, near 2-digit growth. So our new industries are growing fast. And also, we are promoting the development of new business models and new industries. Online retail sales maintain high-speed
实物
growth.
商品网上零售额
Physical
前三季
commodities
度是增
online
长
sales in the first
7.6%。
three quarters grew by 7.6%. In the first three quarters,
这
service
个网上零售额中间还有一个是像这种目前的即时零售
and also we have
直播带货
the live
都保持一
stream
个较
shopping
速度
and
所以新
instant delivery
业态
online
新
retail
模式
also
长
growing
治不松
fast. So we are
所以基于以上
seeing
这些情况来看呢
numerous emerging new industries that are
认
booming.
为是吧这个
So based on what
新
I
质生
said,
产
we
力
believe that the new
加
quality
快
productive
培育
forces
加快形
are
成
being developed at a
但是呢
faster
这个
pace.
是吧这个是个量变到质变的过
But
程
it takes
对
time
我们国家这
before
种
we
经
can
济
make a
转型
qualitative leap,
是能否最终是吧成功而且是
whether we can
高质量发展
succeed
这种
in
质量以后
transitioning to high
最终还
quality
是要靠
development.
科技支
We
撑
must step up
科技
our
是要靠
efforts for
新质生产力加快
research
形成所以党
and
的
for developing new
这个
quality
23中全会
productive
明确提出
forces.
来要
So the third plenary
积极构
session of the
建加快
CPC
新质生
Central
产的发
Committee
展的
raised that
体
we
制和机制
must build
那么
mechanisms
这
and
一次呢这
institutional
种
guarantees
一
for
揽子增量政
developing
策
high
中
quality
间也
productive
有相当一
forces.
部分政策
And many
是
of the
是
newly
有
adopted
利于推动
incremental policies
新质生
will
产力发
help
展的
to further
所以我
boost
们
the
相信
growth
随着
of
这
new
种
quality
增量
productive
政策落地
forces.
随
So we
着
believe
改
that
革
with
政
their
策
implementation
到位
and also with
中
our
国的新质生
continued
产力的发
deepening
展
reform,
具有较大的空间
there will be huge
谢谢。
potential for China's new
最后一题。
quality productive force to further grow.
第一
The
排。
last question.
谢谢主持人。新京报的记者，那我们注意到9月份工业
Beijing News, we
在连续下滑4 月
noticed
以后首次止跌回升，所以想请问盛局长，您如何看待
China's
当前工业的表现？对于下阶段
industrial
的走势有何预判？谢谢。
sector's value added have reversed the trend in the
谢谢你提
third
问。
quarter. What's your assessment of its
工业
development in
是
the
今年
upcoming
经济运
period?
行中间
Thank you
的
for your
一个亮
question.
点
Industrial
大家可能从数据
production
已经
is a
看出来
highlight in our economic performance this
今
year,
年
as
前
you
三
can
季的
already see
GDP
from the
增
figure.
长
In the first three quarters,
4.8%，
GDP grew by
工业前三季度
4.8%.
是
The industrial
增长
sector grew by
5.8%， 工业的
5.8%.
增
So
速
the
比
industrial
GDP
sector
的增速高1个百分点，
outpaced
所以对
1
前三
percentage
季
point
度
than the overall
这
GDP
个经济
growth,
稳定增长发挥了重要支撑作用，
supporting our
贡献
economic
率
growth
接
in
近
the first three
40%。
quarters, contributing to close 40% to the overall economic growth.
前三季度今年
In
的
the
工业
first three
表
quarters,
现
China's
为什么这么
industrial
好，成为
performance
经济中
is
间的一个亮
good.
点。
It has become a highlight
一个原因呢是
because
我们国家的这种工业的基础还
China's
是
industrial
比较扎实。
base is
我
solid.
们国家是有联合是吧？联合国公布
China
的
is
512个
home
门类工业
to
工业门类中
the
间
all
唯一
the
一个
over
有齐全
500
的
categories of
所有的这种门类都有的
industry
一个国家
as listed by the United
产业的
Nations.
配套能力比较强，
We have
韧性比
strong
较大，回旋余地比较大。
have a strong and
尽管我们
expensive
工业也
industry.
遭遇了是来自于外部的冲
Although
击
we are
和
also
内部结构
subjected
调整
to
的压力。
external pressure and
但
also
是工业
domestically, we are
仍然
undergoing
是
structural
显示了
changes,
较
but
强
our
的竞争
industries
能力。
are still very competitive.
第二个原因呢，就是
A second
今
reason
年的工业表现比较好，是吧？跟出
for
口
our
的
sound
这种
industrial performance
支撑也
is
有一定关
because
系。
of is also linked
今
to
年前三季度
export.
工
In
业
the
出
first
口交货
three
值是增长4.6%。
quarters,
川口径的货物出口是增长
exports
6.2%。
delivery
所
grew
以
by
这些出口的产品
4.1%.
是吧？这个既展示了我们的加工能力，
So
另外也
this shows
是
our strong
对
capacity of
这种
manufacturing
工
and
业的发
processing,
展
and also
发挥了重要的支撑作用。
they play an important role supporting
第三个
the development of the
有利的
industrial
条件
sector. Another, the
我觉得
third
是跟
factor
我们的新动力的成长，就刚才
is
我
the
谈到的新
growth
质生产
of
力
new
的发展
driving forces,
是
including the new
是
quality
是
productive
是也
forces.
是有重要的一个，这也是一个重要的支撑。这么多年以来呢，尤其是党的18大以来，
For years, especially
我们国家
after
是
the
在
18th
加
National
大
Congress of the
加
CPC,
加力推进
China has
工业
been
结构
stepping
的
up its
调
efforts
整
to
转型和升
adjust the
级，
structure and upgrade of its industrial
推动
sectors.
这个工业领域的新生产力的发展。
We are promoting new
那么从
quality
我们的数据
productive
来看，
forces in
工
the
业
industrial sector.
就是说这几年工业就高端化、智能化、
Our
绿色
industries
化
are
的方
higher
向
and
还是
greener
趋
and
势
smarter
很
in
明显。
recent years. There's a clear
因为
trend
刚才
in
谈到
recent
的就
years.
高技术产业增加值是吧？
The
比
value
这
added
个
of
规上工业
high-tech
平均增速高3到4个百分
manufacturing
点。
grew 3.3
另外，
percentage
我们的
points
数字经济产业是吧？包
faster
括还有
than
这
the
种
overall level.
比较具有竞争优势的
And
新能
also, we
源
have
相
competitive
关的行
advantage
业
in new
都还
energy-related
保持比较
sectors.
较快的增
They are
长
all
速度，
maintaining
所以对工
fast
业的
growth.
稳定发展
supporting China's stable industrial
还有一个很
development.
重要的原因就是，
Another
实际上
important
刚才我也
reason
谈到了，就今年以来的工业制造表现比较好，跟两重两新的这个政
is
策的
our
落实支撑
equipment
也非常有关
renewal
系。
and
前面我向
trade-in
大家通报
policies
了，
and
就
also
是
our
政策的
efforts
效
to
应。
implement major national
比如说
strategies
这
and
个
build up
新
security
能源
capacity
车
in key areas. For
受
instance,
益比较大，
in new
就新能
energy
源车
cars,
前
it
三季度
benefit
增
from
长
these policies.
33.8%。
In the first 3 quarters, grew by
相关的一些制
33.8%,
造业
and other
全国
related
也好，
manufacturing
就是
equipment,
机械设
ships,
备制造业
machinery
都是保持
equipment,
2位数的增长。
manufacturing, all maintained the
所以
double-digit growth.
这些政策效应在持续释
So
放，
the effects of the
就这
policy
四方面
continue
原
to be
因
released.
然后推动了今年
So
工业
these
经
four
济应该说
factors
是
have supported the
表现
sound
比较
performance
好，
of
是吧？
our
比较
industries
好啊，
in this year,
对推动整个经济稳定
to
也是
help
发挥了重要的作用。
also to stabilize our
那么从
overall
后一个阶段
economy.
来讲呢，虽然我们工业
Going
现在也面临了一些压力，
Despite
你
the
比如说工业产
pressure
品价格持续下
we
行，
come under, for instance,
企业利润
the
有待提
continued
升，
decrease of
而且是
industrial
工业的这
products,
种产能利用率有待提高。
and we are
还有一
still
些传统
to
产业
increase the
要加
profits
快
for the industrial companies
调
and
整转
also
型
the
这些
adjustment and
结构性的问
transformation
题
of traditional
这个
industries
要在
and also other
改革
structural
中间
problems.
转型中
Despite
间去化解，
all of
也面
this,
临的一
we
些
are
压力。
carrying out to
但是
reform
从大的
and
趋势来
we
看，
are
我
promoting
觉得
structural
我们的
changes.
工业还会继续保持
On
稳
the
定发
whole,
展的势头。
we believe the
因为刚
momentum
才我谈到的这
of
几个
a
支
sound
撑因素
growth in the industrial sector will
都存在，
continue because all of
而
those
且
four
像新
factors,
动力像这
will
个
be
经济的这
retained.
种转型，
the new driving forces,
而且这些
we are
这些
having
类
new
型的动力
driving
还会增
forces,
强。
and
尤
our
其是随
structural
着
changes will
这个四季
also
度随着
support
这
further
种一揽
development,
子政策
especially
落实，
we are implementing
所以中国的工
the
业经济
incremental policies.
会继续
So
保持
based on all this, we believe that
稳定
China's
发展的态势，
industrial
而
sector
且质
will
量会
continue a sound
和效益
momentum of
都
growth.
会
Its
得到提升。
quality and
谢谢你。
efficiency we will continue to
谢谢盛市
improve.
长。
Thank you.
谢谢各
Thank
位记者
you,
朋友。
Deputy
今天的新闻发布
Commissioner.
会
Thank
就
you,
到这里，大家
journalists.
再见。
Our press conference concludes here today.
Well, that was the press conference by China's State Council Information Office on the economic performances of China in the first 3 quarters of this year. Just a quick recap of the key data here. Data from the National Bureau of Statistics show China's economy maintained stable expansion in the first half of 2024, despite domestic and external challenges, and the country's GDP grew 5% year-on-year in the period to 61.7 trillion yuan. That's about $8.7 trillion US dollars. And first quarter GDP grew 5.3%, while the economy expanded 4.7% in the second quarter. And just to have more insights on the latest economic data, let's bring in Chu Qiang, Fellow, Belt and Road Research Center at Minzu University of China. Hello, Professor. So what do these figures say about the overall economic situation in China in the first 3 quarters of this year? Anything to worry about?
Well, I think from the numbers, we can see several aspects of the Chinese current economy. Number one, I think, is the overall stability of the Chinese economy. If I take a look, I think the speed and the momentum is still there. And I think for the first Q3 quarters, China has maintained about 4.8% of their GDP growth against China's very large base numbers. As such a large economy, I think this kind of growth is still very phenomenal, which means we created more than 1 trillion yuan in just a new quarter than the previous quarter. And that is creating another average province GDP in the whole year for China. And I think for the export, I think the stability shows even more with the power and the resilient. For example, our trade surplus is also very strong, and our sheer number of volume for the international trade remain the number 1 in the whole world. And also we'll be seeing that the incremental part, China has been showing a very successful shifting gears. For example, if I take a look at the what we call the double new things, or the triple new things growth are growing very rapidly. For example, the digital device, for example, the mechanics, and also the EVs and lithium battery, their growth are basically at the double digit, like the 10%, 20%, and 30%. And I think against the current international background, international market sentiment, this has already been a very phenomenal progress. But I think the thing that we need to worry about is Number one, I think we still need to pay much attention to the property market. I think still it's been a 10% down, and then I think property market is still the largest part of the portfolio in Chinese assets. It's affecting every aspect of the national economy. It's construction, it's about manufacturing, it's about finance, about services, and also partially linking to the human resources, which is the employment market. So I think if we can reverse the trend and